Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. I'm your host, Jacob Edens, and today we are going to be discussing frequency and form. So, why should you care about frequency, right? What does that even mean, dude? Like, what are you, a radio transmitter or an antenna or some nonsense? Well, kind of. So, when you think about frequency, right? Frequency is important to understand attunement, okay? So when you talk about like attraction, a big part of attraction is what someone would label as receiving, right? So why do you need to receive something? It's stupid, right? Well, when you look at dimensional spacing, okay, and you understand dimensional spacing within the context of this realm that we're in, it starts to accentuate different aspects of reality that you can become aware of and then consciously control, okay? So when you think of totality of reality, right? You have thoughts and then you have things, okay? Now, what's crazy is if you look at some works of individual, specifically I'm talking about Darius J. Wright, okay? So when you do out-of-body experiences, you go into what is essentially your personalized dimensional space. Okay, so everybody has one of these. And what that means is that when you're in a dream, if you've ever lucidly dreamt, you're in your own space that is populated, kind of like the movie Inception, okay, with your subconscious thoughts and beliefs. That's why, like, when you wake up in a dream, you're like, why are there stormtroopers in my dream? Well, you just watched Star Wars the night before and it was on your mind and it got impressed and now it's repopulating itself in your own dimensional space, right? But when you're in that space in a dream, you're unconscious, so that dimensional space is randomized, you're just reacting, you're not like controlling the things. But sometimes when you're lucid, you wake up and you're like, I want to fly, and you fly, right? That's your own personal dimensional space correlated to your mind, which is a realm within which you exist that is superimposed onto this realm, okay? So if you're in a dream and you take a bite of an apple, it's physical, right? You go, I want an apple in my hand. You go, boom, there's an apple in your hand in your dream, right? That's how your mind works. That's a fourth dimensional reality, right? There's no lag time between creation and experience, okay? So that real you, eternal you, never dies. That's why Goddard calls the imaginative body the eternal body of man, because that's you at a different frequency of vibration in a reality. You're you. You can't deny that you can't go into your mind and see yourself riding a bicycle and holding the handles and understanding what it sounds like to have the tires go across the gravel and you ding the bell and have that actualized experience within a subtler dimension of reality, what we perceive as subtler, okay? So what you're doing is when you're manifesting something, which the coin term of manifestation is unseen to seen, okay? So when you create in that reality, you are creating that for real in that reality. It's just at an oscillating different frequency. That's why if you ever have a really good dream and you wake up, you're like, fuck, dude, what the fuck? I'm back here. I got to go to work, right? Because you were in that reality. You're experiencing it as real, okay? Because it is real, okay? In that reality. That's why you could call yourself multidimensional, okay? Because boom, I can go, wow, look at this thing. I'm going to hit this with a hammer and smash it apart. And then I can go into my mind and see myself smashing it with a hammer and doing it apart. I can oscillate between these two different perspectives, which are oscillating at different frequencies, which means that the different realities that I'm in have different parameters and rules and templates for how they operate, okay? So your consciousness can go in and out, inner world, outer world, right? You have all of this movement freedom with your core beingness, okay? So oftentimes what happens is when you're in this world, third dimensional world, and you forget about the correlative link between that fourth dimensional world and this world, you look around this world and you go, well, this is trash, right? This is not what I want it to be. And all things considered, right, this is a keyed down version of reality, which essentially means that if you're in that fourth dimensional reality, right, and you go, I want an apple, it goes, boom, you got an apple in your hand. Everything is perfect in that reality because it's perfectly responding to your thought process and your intention. So when you come here, and it's what you would call a keyed down reality, meaning if you're using frequency terms, right, you can have a high frequency, which is going really, really fast back and forth, and it's responsive, high frequency, bam, 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 everything's working, right? Going on a low frequency, bam, 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 everything's working. Is it working? See how you have that time delay in which if you are linearly just focusing on having what you want, it's coming, but it's like, whereas in your dream, you go, boom, pop, got it, right? So this is lower keyed down frequency reality, which what the primary constraint of manifesting or bringing something that you've created in that fourth dimensional world to a physicalized state is the manifestational process that is drawn out, right? So when you have a drawn out process, you intrinsically know that at a real reality level, your thought manifestation is instant. So your soul knows that, right? That's why kids get upset when they don't get what they want, because they're like, what the fuck are we doing, dude? Like, why don't I just have all the toys, right? Because if you're in a lucid dream, you can just be, all the toys, bam, we're playing. But here it's like, I want a toy. Oh, you gotta do this and this and this and this, and then you get this, and then maybe it'll work. It's annoying. So you get annoyed, right? So when you have this reality, what you gotta understand is that you create what you want real time in that fourth dimensional reality. That's a real fucking reality, okay? So when you are bringing that into this reality, you are holding that frequency for a sustained period of time. That's the difference between a third dimensional and a fourth dimensional reality, okay? So a fourth dimensional reality, I want an apple, bam, I have the apple. Beast mode. It's where we're all going back to, so don't you worry your pretty little head off, okay? When you are in this reality, I want an apple, boom. You template that apple in your hand and you hold it. Affixed. This is my apple. You sit there and you dwell in that frequency. Because what's happening? Here's your apple. You understand? See what I'm saying? High frequency, boom, there's your apple. Low frequency, the apple is guaranteed as long as the frequency is correct in the ideation that it is the way you want it to be, okay? So the only thing that can really stop you here is that if you're manifesting an apple and you're holding that apple and you know that you've matched the frequency of having it exactly the way you want it to and you're holding it correctly, but then because from your perceptive lens, because it's coming out of what you could call the ether, right? It's coming out of, you don't know where it's going to come from, but you know that when you think fourth dimensionally, you're not thinking to get, you're thinking as if it's now, because what you're essentially doing is you're summoning that thing, right? So you're holding an etheric template of that thing, but the fact that you can access that etheric template means that there is causation in it to affect the third dimensional world, meaning that it will sync up, right? But you're essentially holding it because it's a slower reality and allowing that thing to mold to that reality of which you've created in that fourth dimensional state. The only thing that can stop it is, right, so you're holding the apple's materialized. It's already done. But when you don't see it physically from the third dimensional realm, you go, where's the apple? And then immediately you've shifted your frequency to not having it to a version of you that doesn't have the apple. Because you're like, what the fuck? Why isn't this here yet, right? So it's more about frequency and focus and knowing, right? So you have to discipline yourself. That's why when you look at the 12 qualities of mind as referenced by Neville Goddard, it's really useful. Is, your first aspect in quality of mind is Simon Peter, which is the rock. Meaning that if I have an apple in my hand, right, I'm in this human realm experience, okay? Slowed down version of reality. I go, boom, I have an apple. it's done because the template for the apple in my hand is the way that I want it, and I'm holding my fixed attention on that state, knowing that it's a slowed down reality. So what in this realm is different than a higher realm is what you would call persistence. I have to hold that frame, right? Whereas if I was in a higher dimension, I go, boom, apple, done. Let's party. We're bobbing for apples, okay? In this reality, I hold that thing. I hold it as if it's mine, right? I hold my fixed attention and sustained attention on that state. My focus is here. The apple is here. That's what faith is. Faith is loyalty to an unseen reality because of the dynamic of this realm being slowed down. That template will be matched with your persisted assumption that it is already done. So you're oscillating at that frequency. Boom, I have the apple in my hand. You're walking around. You have the apple in your hand. You have the apple in your pocket. This is all in imagination, right? You're doing your day. You have the apple in your pocket. You're walking around. You become normalized in the fact that the apple's in your pocket. You come home, imagination put the apple there. Boom, you go to sleep. Next day you wake up. Somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I bought a bushel of apples. Here's the apple. And then before you know it, snapshot, you got the apple in your hand. You're like, holy shit, it's fucking here. See what I'm saying? So you have to understand the parameters of the game, because the game and its template define how you can actually operate within it. What happens is if you're not aware of that slowed down version, and because of the forgetfulness when you come in here, you don't remember that your real authentic self in a higher dimension can manifest like that easily, right? You think that this is the only place and this is base reality and that this is how everything works, and it frustrates the hell out of you because you also get programmed with linear thinking types of thought processes, which essentially make you navigate the world sequentially. Well, before I can get an apple, I need to get money. Well, I don't have enough money, so now I need to get a job. Well, I can't find any jobs, so now I need to do this. See, you're just like the apple frequency was here, but you're going off on this fucking journey, right? And then you're like, oh, now I can buy all the fucking apples I want. But it's like it wasted a bunch of time because you had to go do all of this conditional shit. So when you look at unconditional love, I saw love one time considered as, you ever seen the little switch on off, line, circle with a little switch? Love, LO, volt, electron. So when you have unconditional love, it's unconditional electric power to create what you want, right? So if you have conditional love, it's I can have this, but first I have to do this, right? So it's condition dependent on this. Well, I need money, so I have to have this job, right? Well, what you're after, if you successfully execute the job, is a state, right? And what is the state? State's financial freedom, absolute mobility, always more than enough, right? So even if you do the conditional thing and get the third dimensional reality, what happens is your state of consciousness is not aligned to the state that you want. So even with the money, you're always using that as a condition to try to make your state better. But your state is independent of external reality, and your state is being pushed out chronically. So when I have a state of an apple in my hand, I'm not concerned with the evidence of the previous world because I know that everything is slowed down, so it's just a reflection of my previous states, right? So if I've been previously, a guy with 0 apples, right? Could you imagine having no apples in your life? Oh my God, what would you do? You'd have to eat oranges. So now I go into the state of Apple Man. I'm Johnny Appleseed, right? I'm the Johnny Appleseed. And so now I have this apple here holding the frequency of the apple. Well, what does my external world show me as soon as I make that new assumption? Well, because it's a keyed down, low reverberated reality, it's going to show me the version of myself that was not even aware that he needed to have an apple or was an appleless person. Could you imagine? And so now in my fourth dimensional reality, which is superimposed onto my third dimensional reality, I'm focusing my awareness to hold the frequency of the apple as if it's here, knowing that what I'm really doing is I'm putting in a GPS coordinate for that fourth dimensional reality to deliver to me the coordinates that I have placed, right? So when I go into a GPS and I'm like, okay, well, how do I get to Midtown? Okay, well, let me take the GPS here and let me scroll all the way down and let me zoom out and find Midtown and then let me count the streets. And then once I know the street layout, I can get a feeling for the city. And then no, you just Google where the fuck's Midtown. It says 4th Street and you go 4th Street and then you put it in there and you look at 4th Street the whole time. And then it's just turn left, right? But your focus is on the end product. Your focus is on where you're ending up, right? That's the idea of keeping your eye on the prize. But once you layer in metaphysical understanding of how thoughts turn into things, because thoughts are real physical things in their fourth dimensional reality, but because we're at a different frequency, there's an illusion of what you could call time or separation, right? So this is what happens is you hold the frequency and you go, fuck, it's not happening. Boom, you've been double-minded. Now you're going back and forth between these frequencies, right? So when you master the movements of your attention and your mind, what you're really doing is you're just choosing what you want. You're affixing your attention on that base frequency as if it's the way you wanted it to be. And then you are essentially denying, to bring back that first quality of mind by Neville Goddard, the Simon Peter aspect that I should have finished, but now I'm just remembering that I didn't finish that point. Anything that's not in alignment with that, because it doesn't fucking matter, okay? If I'm holding this frequency, I'm homing, beaconing what I want to come to me. And I have to understand that it's already here, because when if you've ever seen like Fortnite, right? When you have Fortnite, you can build shit in the game. And the way that you build things is you switch over to build mode. What build mode is it's a blueprint of the building that you want to do. And what you do is you play with the blueprint until you get it how you want it to look, and then you press the right trigger and it freeze frames it in there, okay? So this is blueprint. Now, the thing is that the blueprint always precedes the manifestation. So you can't have manifestation without blueprint, okay? You can't build a house without having an architect design the house, okay? So what you do is you establish in consciousness the frequency as if it's real, and you build your house on rock, not sand. Because if you're building your house only from that third dimensional external world, you're never establishing core frequencies or core levels of consciousness that are affixed, right? It's why if you establish a really strong emotional grid of not having money, no matter how much money you get, it just falls out of your fingers, because your consciousness grid that you've established is one of lack, right? It's why those who have will have everything, and those who don't have will have nothing. So until you can establish within yourself the correct grid vibrationally of you being and having what you want chronically, right? Because that's a clear emanating chronic signal that is broadcast no matter where you go. Is it better to be given $1 million or to be a millionaire? Really think about that, right? Is it better to be someone who, wherever they go, millions always pop up and keep populating into their experience, and money just keeps coming in, and no matter what happens, money just keeps coming in? Or a version of yourself who's always concerned and worried about having enough, be gifted $1 million, because that version's going to protect that external thing as if it's the source of their power. Thus, you get enslaved to it because you put an affect as causality. I'm not a millionaire unless I can look at this $1 million, right? But if you are that from a vibrational level, the universe responds to who you are, right? So it has to calibrate to that frequency, which means no matter where you go, in the same way that if you're a sick person, if that's your identity, you're always needing to heal something, no matter what topical shit you get, you're going to wake up the next day and be like, holy fuck, like I need to heal myself again, right? So that's why consciousness is so important to understand. Dimensional spacing is important to understand. And understanding frequency is important, because when you create something, you created that thing for real in that fourth dimensional reality. In the same way that you're in a dream, you can physically, if you're lucid dreaming, you can feel the jam. So when you create that apple, you have to know that that blueprint coordinate is a real thing, and you have to treat it like a real thing. Now, it doesn't mean that in this reality it has materialized yet, but it is a real thing. And the more that you can understand that it's a real thing, the more reality your mind can accept it as being a coordinate for this reality to move and shape. Because another illusion of this reality, right, is that time and spacing situation. So when you have something immediately in a fourth dimensional reality, and then here you say you have something immediately, the illusion is that it's going to come out of some type of thing and populate into your hand. And what tricks a lot of people, right, is they hold the frequency, they successfully get it, and then because their friend Jeremy gave them the apple, now they go to Jeremy to get more apples. You turn your back on what you would call God, right? That's the creative, imaginative power, right? It's like you get what you want by successfully executing the law, and then because this thing delivered it to you as an apparatus for fulfillment, you now put God's power into that apparatus for fulfillment, which externalizes and elevates that thing, which then enslaves you because now you need this thing to get this thing again, which puts you in a conditional loop, right? So understanding unconditional creation is just that you have access to all the frequencies. And you just have to discipline yourself enough to hold that frequency until it materializes, which is the second quality of mind, which is Andrew. First quality is I have an apple. You look in your hand, you don't physically see the third dimensional apple, okay? Fuck you. I have an apple, because how did all this other shit get here? How did every house that is on my block get created? Some fucking dude thought about it and held it in his mind, and it got externalized. Meant that builders, money, all that shit came together to do it. But if you put the causality in the components, then you're fucked, because you put secondary cause on effects. The whole reason those things are moving is because the motherfucker had a house vision and saw it as already done and goes, this is the house that's getting built. It's a lot. How can a house be on an empty lot? Well, because I'm a fucking visionary, right? So you hold the apple. I'm an apple visionary. God damn, I do love me some apples, right? And when the external world has an appearance, right, your stepmother comes in and goes, you pussy, you don't have any apples. Could you imagine not having apples? Is that in alignment with the blueprint that you have chosen? So get fucked, stepmom. No, it is here because I understand frequency, thoughts to things, the coordination between where I place my attention and my malleable, imaginative acts. I understand that this reality, as I like to call scary, spooky, slow down time, is an illusory reality in which my real self in a higher dimension manifests immediately. But I know that because, for whatever reason, I get my fucking kicks for going to a realm which pretends that I'm not who I actually am, I'm dealing with the illusion of a time delay. But I'm too smart for that. I'm too goddamn smart for that because I understand the game. I understand my power. I understand frequency. I understand discipline. And I am unstoppable because my real self can put its imagination wherever it wants effortlessly. So when you come here, you're basically doing the same shit that you always do, but you're doing it with resistance training, right? So now you're doing it to where instead of just boom, apples here, now you're really fucking harnessing your power and going, no, motherfuckers, the apple is here. And there's no physical evidence to support you at all. But once you really get over that bridge and understand that that's how you materialize your reality, you're completely sovereign and nothing outside of you has power over you because you essentially kill all of those second causes, right? Oh, your bank balance is showing you this? No, motherfucker. Blueprint reality, fourth dimensional reality, created the number that I want, hold it in my hand. This is my bank balance. Beep, boop, beep, boop, 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 boop. Here's all of the fucking notifications about shit that doesn't align with that. No. That's just old reality from when I was asleep and I got scared and accepted that and built and blueprint a dog shit reality. But that's over because I'm too smart. This is what it is now. Hold the frame. Oh, we're not showing you this. Hold the frame. Everything outside of you is coordinating to match that frame. What happens is if you see something move and shift and you judge it as the reason that this can't come into fruition, You've made that thing a God. You say that thing has God power, that thing can deny me, that thing, that condition, that circumstance, that text, that notification, whatever, is more powerful than my ability to create with my mind. And because that thing, this doesn't work and I'm powerless. Fuck you. No, anytime something happens, as long as you're affixed in the end state of that end product, what you do is you hold that frequency, and then you see some shit that would, to a monkey brain person, seem like it's not happening. You go, wait, I'm a fucking creator. I don't fall for that shit anymore, even though I've fallen for it my entire life. I'm assigning that value as this thing is happening to make this third dimensional manifestation, third dimensionally manifested. But I know that it's already done because every single thing that gets done starts with the frequency of having it, right? You didn't immediately become depressed. You dwelled in that frequency for a long fucking time. And then you're like, oh shit, now it's hard to get out of because your whole awareness got calibrated to that thing. Wealthy people have always been dwelling in wealthy frequencies, so it's normal to them. They lose their millions, they fucking get another loan, right? Whatever, who gives a fuck? So it's just understanding that you are in control and you have power, but you gotta understand the name of the game. And the name of the game is two things. Number one, it's gonna try to pretend like it's not happening. And number two, it's gonna try and drag you out with time. It's gonna say, look how long you've been doing this shit, it's not working. You're a fucking loser. But you're not a fucking loser unless you believe it to be so. So this is where you really get ironclad in yourself and you go, no, I don't care what these things tell me. I decide, right? I decide. And what does decide mean? Decide means to kill all other possibilities. When you have an apple and someone gives you grapes, cool, I like grapes, but I still have a fucking apple. Doesn't mean that I'm not getting my apple because it got grapes. I'm not assigning the universe as, oh, the universe can only deliver me grapes because that's what is accessible right now. Fuck you. No, you go to what you want and you hold it. And you don't care about anything else other than that because that's your decision. Who's here to judge you on your decisions other than you? So you just stop judging yourself, saying this is what I want because I'm a creator and all I do is create, and in my DNA is to create shit. So this is what I'm creating. I'm in slowed down time. This thing's going to do some fuckery outside, but it's always going to end up where I want it to end up because how can it do anything else if I'm holding that frequency, right? Now you got it. So I love you guys. Go conquer. The Linktree has all the coaching. If you want to do one-on-one, if you want to do more advanced stuff, the modern metaphysics protocol is like your base metaphysical understanding. Spartan 1 is like a 12-week program, one-on-one with me, where we optimize all of your body, all of your mental faculties. We get you fucking legit. Okay, read the description or email me if you have questions on that. And then additionally, I have coaching one-on-one sessions if you just want to dip your toe in the water, if you just want to hang out and chat or email, more than welcome. So more important than any of that, go conquer, and I'll see you in the next one.